return us back to the republic that our founders envisioned.
Yeah!
For those of you who are here for the last one, thank God for good weather. As we get ready to open this thing here, I want to urge everyone to take a little time and meet all these other patriots who have come from every corner of this great state. People who are willing to take their time, their money, and their effort. We weren't paid to come here. We weren't bussed here by paid organizations. Everybody's here on their own dime and coming out of the patriotic good of their own hearts. So recognize that the man and the woman standing beside you are American patriots, and they too are here to bring this country back to where we all want it to be. I ask each and every one of you at this point to go through that time-honored ritual. The ritual that binds us together as citizens as we pledge allegiance to this standard that represents all of the great things that our nation represents. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
Better get your speech, Bob.
There. Again, I want to thank everyone. Therese, where are you? You going to do a national anthem here? Okay. If you guys will, please take off your hats and we're going to do the national anthem to this same standard. And Therese, you going to sing?
Yes. And will everybody please join me in the national anthem? Oh, say, can you see the dawn's early light? What so proudly we hail by the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare that on bursting in air gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Therese, thank you very much, and thank all of you. There is no bad way to sing that song. All is recognized that our nation is struggling right now. We're struggling in so many different ways. We're struggling to decide if we're even still a nation. And one thing that I know is that if we're going to come together, we're going to have to come together under common beliefs and common goals. We're going to have to reach for things that are bigger than ourselves. The ability to heal and to mend is not really within us as much as it is a higher power. And I would like to ask Shar to come up here and help us invoke that higher power to help us in the struggle that our nation currently faces. Shar, Tierney, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And God bless New Mexico.
Amen.
I want to say a few words before I lead us in prayer. We the people have gathered together once again to take a stand. America is at a crossroads, but we the people know the way forward. We know what needs to be done. We know that we can rely on our Creator for help, just as our founding fathers did when they laid down the foundations of this nation. We need to return to our godly American heritage, to laws based on our Constitution, and to a limited government which is fiscally and morally responsible. Attacks on the Tea Party are escalating. This is a spiritual struggle as much as it is one in the natural realm. We are engaged in an all-out struggle over liberty, over the soul and spirit of America, of New Mexico, of the world. Of course there is more to come. There will be a continuing effort to demonize or to marginalize the Tea Party and patriots. Some will do everything they can to discredit us. They will oppose our conservative values, and they will oppose our faith in God. What a shame in a nation under God. However, this is nothing new. There has always been a struggle over good and evil, over freedom versus tyranny. We know, we trust, because we are believers, that good wins in the end. And there is no question about it. Liberty is the good. Freedom is the highest ideal.
Amen.
So together, let's look to our Creator, the one to whom our founding fathers put their trust. He is near. He will help us as He helped them. As troubles escalate, so shall our courage, so shall our faith. Please join me in asking a blessing on our state and on our country. And Father, these are serious times. As the governor and as the legislature meets today, and all during this session and the sessions ahead, we ask you to help them. Let the needs of New Mexico be met. Let the redistricting be settled in a fair and just manner, and let all the needs and issues be resolved well. Help us on a national level as well. As the scriptures say, let freedom ring throughout the land. As the rhetoric and the struggle increases, Father, please let there be no violence. Keep New Mexico, keep America safe. Thank you, Father, for all your help and all your care. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Char. All right, I want to thank everybody that's helped support this thing, helped bring it together. Therese, Char, the East Mountain Tea Party, the Albuquerque Tea Party, everybody who's here. I want to particularly thank the Bob and Bob Show, who's recording this to be put out on the podcast. In interest of full disclosure, I'm one half of the Bob and Bob Show. My partner over there, Bob, stand up. Let people look at you. All right. Want to also recognize Tea Party 2.0 for all that they're doing and the equipment and everything. Everybody put your hands together. The great music we've been listening to. This session of the legislature, I think, is a critical session. I think that what we're looking at here is whether or not New Mexico is going to step back into the realm of sanity. Look at the signs that we have here. And why is there a question of whether people who have entered this country illegally, who every day that they're here, they are in violation of our laws, and every time they take a job and use a social security number, they are committing a federal felony? Why is there even a question of whether or not they should have it? We have, look at this sign over here. Where is it? I saw that nice lady. We are actually considering allowing the children that are our future, that we love and we cherish, to progress through the New Mexico State schools, even if they can't read. Where is the sanity? If there's nothing else this legislature does, please let it find some sanity and stop debating issues that should never have been debated in the first place. This is insane. We've reached a point of absurdity. And I don't think these folks actually understand how absurd they truly are. But Monty Python or Saturday Night Live would not have done sketches like this because it would be too absurd for television. Many, many challenges face us. We've already referenced, Char has referenced the increasing attacks upon the Tea Party, and they are getting with threats of violence. The times are going to get worse. The liberal monster that has put a chokehold on American politics for the last 70 years is dying. And it is dying hard. Yes, that's hard. And even though it is dying, it is no less dangerous. And like the Leviathan, who in its death throes destroys the very people who seek to destroy it, so will this Leviathan attempt to destroy the great republic that it hates and it has spawned and that it has tried so desperately to kill. The times ahead will be hard. Steel your hearts. Steel your feelings, for the rhetoric is mindless, and it has no effect upon us, our resolve, our purpose, our reason for doing what we're doing. Because history, ladies and gentlemen, is on our side. The lessons of history teach us that we stand in the correct position, and they stand in a position that leads to destruction, while human liberty always leads to the best and the most beautiful and the brightest things that humanity will ever have to offer. And all those things can only come about in an atmosphere of freedom. Hopefully, this legislature, we will see people stop tabling tough deals they don't want to deal with. We will see an end here in our state to continually massaging the unions, to doing what the unions want done. We will reply, hopefully this legislature will be the legislature that remembers they are not the government of New Mexico, they are our representatives to the government of New Mexico. In spite of the lies that are continually told and the attempts to make things appear as they are not, we are an organization that represents America. All of America. Well, maybe not all of America. Maybe those Americans who love America. Maybe those Americans who believe that the Constitution is the founding documents of this country and the supreme law of the land. Maybe only those Americans who believe that the law is the law.
Right.
Maybe only those Americans who believe that each and every one of us are entitled to walk in the maximum amount of freedom we possibly can.
Right.
So for some of us out here, it's a harder battle than others. My next speaker is one of those who fights a hard battle. He fights it bravely. Victor Contreras is an activist, and he's a chairman of a group called the Hispanos Unidos. All right? His dedication, his clear thinking and common sense articles and commentary are an absolute inspiration to many. Ladies and gentlemen, Victor Contreras.
Right on. Good morning. It's always humbling to be in the presence of such fine patriots. Most of you know my story. In 2008, it was clear there was cheating in our elections. Election irregularities were profound in the South. A group of citizens in Las Cruces decided to do something about it. We named our group Hispanos Unidos. We got State Representative Diane Hamilton from Silver City on board, and in 2009, she carried the first bill for photo ID requirements at the polls. Since then, all hell's broken loose in New Mexico. Diane has been called a liar on the House floor. Endless editorials appear in the newspapers calling us names, claiming we want to disenfranchise the poor. Our website has been hacked and destroyed. I've been threatened with lawsuits, all because we dare to demand fair and free elections. We have them on the run, my friends. People in New Mexico want the cheating stopped, and our enemies know it. If those who fight us are so worried about the poor, why don't they acknowledge the simple truth Without a photo ID, the poor are doomed. The lawmakers who oppose us are harsh. They've decreed that no food or shelter shall be given for anyone without an ID. We want to give a photo ID to anyone who is a citizen and doesn't have one. If these legislators will not minister the poorest among us and refuse to provide transparent elections, what good are they? But I'm preaching to the choir. You all have stood with us during the legislative battles we fought. You've given us the will, the support, and money to keep this going. All of you carry the gratitude of all New Mexicans from every corner of the state. Your activism has given your fellow citizens a voice. Most importantly, you've given us hope. I traveled 300 miles to say this. Thank you. In closing, I want to say that as I pray for this body of lawmakers does the right thing for New Mexico during this special session, I will also offer a prayer of gratitude. I hope you'll join me in offering thanks for the friendship and solidarity that this cause has created. And it is written, for two or more gathered in his name, he's there. And my friends, he's here. All powerful and ever living God, throughout the ages, you brought your people together to do your will. We are thankful to stand with each other in your presence and serve you. Keep us close to you as we endeavor to do right. Bind the hands of the wicked and strengthen your servants. Together in one voice, we lift this prayer of hope. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Our next speaker is Cheryl Bolander. Cheryl is the president of an organization called Club 54 here in Santa Fe, whose focus is on fiscally responsible government, openness, and accountability. They advocate for issues that affect the families of New Mexico, such as public safety, national security, educational achievement, job creation, and an end to the corruption at all levels of government. I would like to welcome Cheryl. Come up here. And she's also, I believe, the former leader of the Santa Fe Tea Party, right?
Yes?
Yes. Okay. That wasn't
Okay. Good morning, everyone. What a great morning this is. So, driver's licenses for illegal, I shouldn't say illegal aliens. I think the correct term is undocumented foreign nationals. So, here we go again. This past summer, we've seen a certain group of our state legislators, backed up by special interest groups, make this into an immigrant rights issue. They've made opponents to the law, such as ourselves. They've made us out to be anti-Hispanic, anti-immigrant, racist, and other names. I'm sure you've all heard them all. They have, and they will claim that this law has made our roads safer, and yet study after study has shown that our uninsured motorist rate is still at about 30%. So they will use fear and emotion to push their agenda to keep the status quo, but as for me, I like to use facts. So here are some facts we need to talk about. According to the Homeland Security Department, tens of thousands of people cross our borders from countries other than Mexico every year. Those are the ones they catch. We don't know how many have made it through. But they come from countries that are not necessarily friendly to the United States. They come from Somalia and Libya and Afghanistan and Yemen and Pakistan and other countries. Next Sunday, September 11th, we'll be recognizing the 10th anniversary of the terror attacks on our country. And here is another fact. The 19 terrorists of September 11th were holding 63 state-issued driver's licenses. Yes. They know what a valuable piece of identification that is. That's an average of 3 driver's licenses per terrorist. Now, while terrorism is a real threat, and our governor has talked about this issue as being a national security issue, It's not even just about the terrorists. It's about all the illegal activity that grows out of that first illegal act of crossing our border. Here's just a few of the headlines that have made the news in the last year, and not just local news. It's made national news. Brazilian man arrested in license scam. Police arrested a Costa Rican man accused of using fake lease agreements to help illegals get driver's licenses. Another one, the feds arrest a Polish immigrant in a New Mexico smuggling case. And this guy guaranteed in his newspaper ad that he would get a New Mexico driver's license for anyone that paid the money because of our lax laws. New Mexico grand jury indicts 3 in a driver's license ring. Now these are alleged a Chinese crime ring that was helping more than 60 people with fraudulent documents. Does that make you feel warm and fuzzy knowing these people are our neighbors? No. Other headlines, driver's license scam growing, and investigators say that illegals travel to New Mexico for IDs. This was a scam that was plaguing Albuquerque last year, and here's what the tax fraud investigator Alvin Romero had to say. He said, "This is scary. This scam ruins people financially." And did you know that just in the 9-month period from last August through April of this year, 37% of the 16,000 requests for an appointment with the Motor Vehicle Division came from out of state. New Mexico phone number, one New Mexico phone number was used 228 times to make an appointment. And I don't think 228 people use the same phone number. One address in Albuquerque was used more than 70 times. 70 people living at one address? Sounds a little suspicious. 2 Albuquerque women were arrested for selling their address to 60 undocumented foreign nationals so they could get proof of residency. Going back to the tax auditor, Romero said this is a total red flag. These licenses are out there. They legitimize people. They are very, very valuable. I applaud our law enforcement agencies for uncovering the illegal activity. I wonder how many more go undetected. But how sad it is, on the one hand, our law enforcement is going after the illegal activity, and on the other hand, we have a handful of legislators back here that support the law that encourages that very illegal activity. Let me read a portion of an email I received from one of those legislators last year during the last session when I urged him to vote to repeal this law. Jerry Ortiz Epino said, "I certainly do not have a moral obligation to support the views of the majority. How did you ever get such a strange notion?" I guess he and the other supporters of this law also don't think they need to do anything to stop the crime associated with this law. I wonder just how much illegal activity they will tolerate. I wonder what they are getting in return for their unwavering support. I'm just kind of curious. New Mexico is just one of 2 states that still issue driver's license to undocumented foreign nationals. 47 other states have said absolutely no to this practice. Utah made a decision to at least give a driver's license that cannot be used as ID or to prove citizenship. Nationally, 74% of Americans are opposed to driver's licenses for undocumented foreign nationals based on a Rasmussen report. These findings have changed little in the last 4 years. Statewide polls show the same numbers, about 80%. So for years, the public has said enough, but a handful of legislators have thumbed their nose at New Mexico voters. We have a stack of petitions that we have circulated statewide, and we'll be delivering them to the governor today. These are from legal voters in the state of New Mexico. They are from all political affiliations. They are from all ethnic backgrounds. This is not anti-racist, anti-immigrant. These are from the voters of New Mexico. It's time for our voters to hold the elected officials accountable, and if this law is not repealed, it's time to vote out those people who want to continue the practice that is putting our state and our citizens at risk. Please do so. There should be some circulating around here, and I urge you all to call your legislators, and especially that one Mr. Ortiz-Pino, to remind him that he does have an obligation to listen to the will of the people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, the next guest that we're going to have here isn't really a guest. She's pretty much the founder of the feast, if you will. She's a patriot that many of you know either personally or you know her through the efforts that she's done with the East Mountain Tea Party and through this New Mexico Conservative Coalition. She is truly one of the treasures here in New Mexico. I want to introduce Therese Cooper. Therese Cooper is a direct descendant of Patrick Henry. She is the co-founder of the East Mountain Tea Party. She has worked tirelessly to promote the furthering of New Mexico Conservative Coalition, a loose-knit group of statewide leaders in the patriotic conservative movement. She's also my friend.
You gotta love Bob. Good morning, patriots of New Mexico. Wow. I love this. I love to see this group. I mean, Las Cruces. I see Las Cruces. I see, holy cow. I mean, Santa Fe, of course. Last time I forgot Santa Fe, so I got to remember Santa Fe's here, right? And I mean, from all over. We've got Hobbs. We've got Farmington. And we've got like 15 people from Farmington. We're all from all over East Mountains. Moriarty. We've got Edgewood. It's awesome. What? Sandia Tea Party, yes, up in the East Mountains, and Albuquerque Tea Party. Holy cow, can't forget you guys. Woo! Rio Rancho Tea Party. Woo! Silver City Tea Party. Woo! Lincoln County Tea Party. Did I say Carlsbad? Los Alamos. We're here all over the state. What does that mean? I think that means we care about what's happening here at our capital, doesn't it? Yeah. Yes. And what else does it mean? It means that we want our legislators to be accountable, doesn't it? Yeah. It does. So here we are. We stand here today in front of, outside our unique and beautiful New Mexico Roundhouse, the seat of power for 70 representatives, 42 senators, and a governor. And these 113 people and their predecessors are responsible for the current and future condition of New Mexico. We, the people, put them into office, and we, the people, can take them out of office. Let's see how they have done so far. Let's do a little critiquing here.
Yeah.
On desirable places to live, New Mexico ranks 42, according to StateMaster.com. Per capita income, New Mexico ranks 43rd, according to the UNM Bureau of Business and Economic Research. On education, New Mexico, and this is a CNBC.com ranking, ranks 44th, but I have heard, and the governor herself has said 49th in the state. On the high school graduation rate, New Mexico ranks 45th. What are our legislators doing here in our house? How can it be that we are so far on the bottom of the totem pole here, people? New Mexico friendliness, we rank 45th. Business friendliness, 45th. For every dollar that New Mexico sends to Washington, New Mexico receives $3 back from Washington. And I guarantee it, people, this money comes with a huge cost, a terrible cost, the cost of adding to the bankruptcy of the United States of America and the cost of keeping New Mexico in its nearly last place among the states in so many areas. How can New Mexico be in last place in so many measures when we have all of you awesome people and all the incredible people of New Mexico, all of our natural resources, our agriculture, our ranching and dairy bounty? Because of the actions of 113 elected officials inside this building over the past decades. They have enslaved our state. They have enslaved our people and brought us into the running for last place over and over. And why? For what? So they can do and follow their progressive socialism agenda that does not work. So they can feel powerful and important. So they can buy their re-elections. Let's make no bones about it, people. How can it be that we're doing so poorly in New Mexico? We've got people that we have got to deal with that we elect and put in this House. Year after year, many buy votes by giving constituents and special interest groups money and favors using we, the people of the United States, hard-earned tax dollars. We are here to say, this is it. Your progressive socialism political time is near its end. We, the people, are watching you. And why are we here today? We are here today to tell our elected officials that if they want to keep their job in 2012 and beyond, they need to show improvement in education of New Mexico's children, in New Mexico's job market, and in New Mexico's per capita income every year. That's right, adequate, yearly progress. Every teacher knows this term. It's demanded of them by our state and federal education departments. Our legislators need to learn this term. We, the people, demand adequate, yearly progress. Yeah. And this is what we say to our legislators. We, the people, won't listen to lies anymore. We, the people, won't accept lame excuses that we have to play ball with the federal government because we're a poor state. We are a poor state, people, because of yes, because of them. Because they don't have the vision, the leadership, and backbone to make us a rich state. And we, the people, will continue to watch you and see everything that you do. And we, the people, will invite some of you to come back in November. And to the rest of you, vaya con Dios, adios. Make a change, legislators, and make a change now. We are watching you act carefully and justly in this session. I am proud of our governor. I feel she is determined to bring good and necessary changes in many areas, and I support these efforts. She sold our jet, people! Let the legislators follow suit! President, our eyes are on you.
Yes, they are.
May God bless America. May God bless New Mexico, and may God bless we, the people, in our efforts. God bless you all. I love you.
All right, wow, how do you follow that? Well, fortunately, I think we have that. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you a man who is a native New Mexican that can trace his roots back in this state over 100 years. A lifelong conservative, a longtime business owner, former state representative, the husband and father of 2 daughters, and the current lieutenant governor of the state of New Mexico. This is the guy who's going to go in here and open this legislative session. Let us all say a prayer that he can influence them. I have some more notes here, but anyway, I have met the guy. You've all, probably all of you have met him. We're very, very fortunate. Lieutenant Governor, please.
Good morning. Good morning. What a privilege and pleasure it is for me to be here today in front of a great group of patriots. And that's really what we are today, aren't we? Can we all agree that we're not here as Republicans, as Democrats, as independents, but we're here today as American citizens who believe in the greatness of this country and in the wonderful opportunities that not only America, but the great opportunities that New Mexico provides, not only for our families, but more importantly, for our children. That's what motivates me every single day. As was mentioned, let me share with you briefly a little bit about my history because I think it's important for what we're doing here. You see, I am native not only to Albuquerque, but to the beautiful state of New Mexico, and I can trace my family roots going back hundreds of years. I am an heir to the Anton Chico land grant. It goes to show you how far back my family has resided in this part of America. We like to say that our family was here in New Mexico before the Pilgrims were on Plymouth Rock. Conservative Americans, though. My great-great-great-grandfather was a territorial legislator from San Miguel County in 1860, a Republican. My grandfather was the last Republican to represent San Miguel County in 1930, when I believe that the majority of New Mexicans were conservative, people who believed in less government, lower taxes, and personal responsibility. Today, as your Lieutenant Governor, I stand for those values. We must return to conservative values. The purpose of this special session is the continuation of the 50th legislative session. And I'm honored to serve as Lieutenant Governor and President of the New Mexico State Senate. I do support Governor Martinez's push and her priorities to change New Mexico. We have a great opportunity. And it's just not about a Republican administration, but it is about New Mexicans, Democrats and Republicans in the legislature who want to see New Mexico go forward. What are some of the priorities as we take on this special session? And let me remind everybody that it's costing taxpayers, all of you, about $50,000 a day for us to be in session. And I believe, though, that as a good fiscal conservative, that we can continue to do more here. And so for the governor to have a very robust agenda, I think is in the best interest of all New Mexicans. I know because I served 10 years ago as a state representative the last time we had redistricting. And even though it's a lot of work and legislators are doing a tremendous amount of heavy lifting, we do have the opportunity to take on more because that's what you all, the taxpayers of New Mexico, are expecting from us. The ability for us to do more to get the most bang for your buck. And that's what we're doing here. What are some of the discussions and some of the priorities that we'll be tackling? The discussions have been about providing in-state preference to New Mexico companies. Why? It's about creating jobs, the ability for New Mexico small businesses to have an opportunity to take advantage of New Mexico state tax dollars. To ensure solvency to the unemployment fund. I know as a small businessman has to deal with this on a daily basis. We have to do what's right. And I think the governor's approach has been very prudent. We'll continue to work very hard. To continue programs for food stamps for the elderly. Make no mistake about it, we will always take care of the people who need our help the most. capital outlay for infrastructure. Let's get New Mexicans back to work. Being more efficient in state government, the ability to merge several state agencies into one, the ability to ensure that you as taxpayers are getting the most for your money. And the other important ones, ending social promotion for our children. As a father of 2 now grown daughters, I understand that education starts at home, and we must continue to expect more from our children, our parents, our teachers, and yes, from government. And the governor is right on when she wants to end social promotion. We must ensure that we give our children every opportunity so that they have the ability to read. We can do more, and so we're working together with both Democrats and Republicans with the great leadership of the administration to end this. We must educate our children and empower, giving them the tools they need so that they can succeed in the future. And the other most important issue that we'll be dealing with is ending and repealing the law that gives driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. Make no mistake about it, this is not a Democrat versus Republican issue. It's not one based on race as well. You see, even though I'm a proud American first and foremost, I am Hispanic. And make no mistake about it, as a proud Hispanic and working shoulder to shoulder with other proud Hispanics, it has nothing to do with race. It has to do with following the law. We must uphold the law. Too many times in this great country, we use the hyphenated phrase, Hispanic American, African American. Folks, first and foremost, let us all agree on one thing. We are Americans first and foremost. We will never forget that. So let's work together. I'm reaching out to our legislators, both in the Senate and in the House. Put aside your partisan issues. Let's do what's right for the people of New Mexico and this great country. Together, we can make a difference. And that's the challenge of this session. In closing, I want to remind each and every one of you of those priorities that are important to me as a citizen, as a small business owner, and as Lieutenant Governor. I am a good Republican, but I'm a better American first and foremost. And I believe that there are priorities and issues that we as Americans must take on. You see, I support a strong voter ID bill, one that would ensure that our vote counts. I support that. I believe that we must protect and defend our Constitution here in America, and I will do everything in my power to do that. We must reduce the size of government, all government, local, state, federal government, and push back on the federal government into the laws, into the lives of each and everyone who's an individual and into states' rights as well. We must cut taxes and cut spending. You as individuals are doing more with less, so should government. We must reduce the size of government spending. I believe in protecting our Second Amendment rights. We must allow citizens to protect themselves, and I will fight every single day to ensure that. I believe in states' rights. Again, pushing back on the federal government to ensure that the powers remain at the local level. Those are constitutional. Those are what make this country great. We must return to those values. Yes. I do believe that we must protect our borders as well. We are a country based on rule of law. It's a matter of national security and public safety. And so I will fight as Lieutenant Governor, whatever role that I have, working with this administration to ensure that America protects its borders. We must protect the borders. And I also believe that we must unleash the private sector, because government doesn't create jobs, the private sector does. We reduce the cost of doing business in New Mexico and across this country by reducing unneeded regulations and taxes and fees that would hold back the average businessman in order to expand their payrolls. I believe that Obamacare is wrong for America. It's unconstitutional. And among people in the business community, it is an impediment to allow them to expand. That's what's wrong in this country. We must give private sector every opportunity to expand their businesses. You see, folks, I think what's missing today at every level of government is a little bit of good old common sense. Common sense on how we do business, common sense on how we support and vote for people, common sense on how we protect our borders. And I want you to know, as your Lieutenant Governor, I will bring common sense, conservative values every single day to my office and to this job. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. You're here because, as I do, I believe that you love America, that you are passionate about this country. That's my motivation today. I love this great, great country that has benefited me because I've taken advantage of the American dream. Hard work, personal responsibility, and in this wonderful nation, if you do those things.
I tell you what, with Governor Martinez and Lieutenant Governor Sanchez, we have the leadership. Now it is up to us to be that force that bends this legislature to come around and fulfill what we are rightly entitled to, and that is a dynamic New Mexico with the power of free people unleashed on an economy, unleashed in society, and unleashed in a culture that will allow a zenith to occur here. It can be done, but it's going to be up to you guys. You are the driving force of politics today. Make no mistake about it, the political paradigm in this country has shifted. Many of our legislatures still haven't figured that out. Many of our legislatures still don't know how to work within that paradigm. They're still trying to play the old games of paying voters and I'll scratch your back and you scratch mine. And the Tea Parties are out here to tell them that those days are over. You have changed the political debate in America. You have changed the dynamics in America. You have pulled back the curtain and allowed a nation to see that there is no wizard behind the curtain. You have allowed them to see the bankrupt and failing programs that have devastated the once greatest economy in the world. You have done that. And you should be very proud of what you have done, but you must also remain resolute. You must put in your heart that this fight will not end until full constitutional governance is returned to this land, returned to our state, that our children, we will go to bed at night knowing that they will have the opportunity to be as prosperous as we have been. That fight has fallen to us. None of us asked for it, none of us want it. Nobody wants to keep doing these things over and over. But look around. The enemies of this republic, the enemies of the freedom you love, the enemies of the free market system that has brought this country where it is, they are well organized, they are well financed. We must too come to the point where we can work together in a sense of harmony, a sense of unity, a sense of we're all going to the same place, and nothing will resist the tide of the American patriot as he once again rushes to the shores of freedom. Nothing. My next speaker was scheduled to be here, and he had a speech that he wanted to give on redistricting. Sadly, a family tragedy has happened, and Rick and Pat can't be here. So I'm going to do my very best to give his speech. I know I probably won't do it as well as he did, but I hope you can get what it is he was aiming at. He starts his speech by saying, over a century now, the rights of citizens to vote has been identified as the preservative of all of our rights. And this conclusion was put out in a Supreme Court decision in 1888. The idea that each of you has a vote that has integrity, that we can trust, that we can believe in, is the very basis of how we work government in this country. This ability to have a vote with integrity, where you know that your vote will be counted, brings a great equality to the American way of life. Because in the polling booth, the pauper stands equal with the millionaire. The landlord stands equal with the tenant, and vice versa. It is the place where representation happens. It is essential to the American Republic that it remain with integrity. We're going to fight this legislative session about driver's license and being able to vote and things like that. But something else is happening. This is the decade, right? This is where we do the redistricting. And I think what Rick and Pat wanted to make sure people understand is that of the many reasons we have a constitutional mandate to hold a census every 10 years is the ability to determine how many people we have and how they will be represented, how that representation will be apportioned. This is not a job for government. This is not a job for the same people who can't balance a budget. This is not a job. This is your job. They have got to have your input just as strongly on these matters as is any of those other hot button topics that we all get so agitated about and we make signs. This one is just as important. You know, if it was all about just numbers, then it would be a simple process, right? We get a map, we find out who's where, and we draw a line. All right, but then it's been made much more complicated by various laws through the decades and for almost 100 years now. Now just your age. The Constitution requires that you be of a certain age and you be a citizen. Those are the requirements the Constitution has for you to vote. Well, over the years, many more requirements have now been put upon the reapportioning process. Some of those, of course, are your race. In a land that works so hard to be colorblind, we now require our legislatures to make decisions based on the race of their constituents, their language, and other factors. Think about that. How many of you were young when the Civil Rights Movement went on, when people marched in the street, where we literally had riots in the streets as people fought to make this country colorblind, to remove all of those boundaries? And now we require our government to make those boundaries. We require them in their apportionment. So this is why it's so important that everyone has to be involved in this apportionment, just like we do the Second Amendment issues or the land rights issues or any of those other things that hit our hot buttons. This is important because this will affect elections for the next 10 years. When we create these factors, they create a situation where apportionment is now distorted. We create districts so that a certain race may be represented as opposed to a constituency of a geographical area the way it was designed to do. What is going to be decided right here in this roundhouse in the next few days is going to determine who and how our elections run in the next 10 years. How many of you were aware that this was happening this year? How many of you knew that there were redistricting hearings being held all over the state? And how many of you attended those hearings and gave them your input? Boy, that number just went way down. This redistricting is going to affect your counties, it's going to affect your school districts, it's going to affect your water district, it will affect your public utilities. And the other thing that's essential for everybody to realize is that even after these meetings, this body is not required to go with anything that anybody comes up with except themselves. So in the long run, it still is up to you. It still is up to you to be on that phone. It still is up to you to gather up a couple of your girlfriends and just come up to Santa Fe for a day and hit the offices and tell them what it is that you expect. Mary G. Wilson was quoted in the Albuquerque Journal as saying, quote, "Ordinary citizens should make their voices heard as legislators redraw maps, because we really and truly will not have a representative republic if we let our elected officials choose what their districts are going to look like." And that is what they do their very, very best to do. They're not interested in the distribution of the people. They're not in the distribution of government power so that it will manifest itself in a way that is best for our state, best for our people, best for our schools. They do it to try to win more seats. They do it to try to hold on to power. And then we see what we saw in the last session. We saw that when things get too tough for them, they have sufficient numbers just to table something they don't want to deal with and hope that somewhere down the line the election will turn their way. They can gerrymander another district. They can get one more vote that will kill all of the initiative that the people of New Mexico are showing right now. There is no bigger fight than what this is. because it will affect all of these other signs out there. Everything else that you're talking about is going to be affected by this reapportionment based on our population. You need to be giving the input into that at a vociferous level. Remember this, we are here today not because of holding our hat in our hands and begging for the crumbs from the table of the legislature or the government. We're here because 2-3 years ago, a bunch of little old ladies stood up in the town hall meetings and they told the elected officials, you shut up and you listen to me. We are the citizens of this country, and whether they like it or not, they work for us. Now, they've forgotten that, and to a large extent, so have we. It is time to remind them of that. And it is time to remind them that they will be held accountable. And they will be held accountable at the polls. They'll be held accountable in the opinion pieces. They'll be held accountable at every town meeting they come to. We watch and we wonder how, with the absolute foolishness that comes from the other side, those things that destroy our way of life, that create poverty, that bring about a collapse of a great society, how can they be so successful? Well, they're that successful because they stand united. They don't have jobs. But you know what? We are at a point, ladies and gentlemen, in this movement, in this country, in our very own lives, where we probably should subjugate every other activity in our lives, with the exception of worshiping our Lord, to this cause. Your vacation should be spent doing this. Your time should be spent doing this. You should involve your children, your grandchildren, because it is their future for which we fight.
Exactly right.
We must develop that single-minded purpose that we will not rest, we will not sleep, we will not tire until we have crossed that final finish line and America stands with the flag free again, with a people unafraid of knocks on the door in the middle of the night, unafraid of tax audits or all the other little tricks that they use, where we can stand and look our representative in the eye and tell him, you work for me, and don't ever, ever, ever forget it again.
Exactly right.
Ladies and gentlemen, at noon today, the legislature will open. As angry as we are, as frustrated as we are with the people who seem to betray us at every turn, this is still the most wonderful process that man has ever developed to govern himself. So don't run off when this is over. Stay. Go in and watch that process at work. Go in and watch what is happening here. Because it truly is still the greatest thing that this world has ever produced by man. Love it. Be proud of it.